Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm checking out the GB190 from gearbest.com. This is another mini quad that has a crazy amount of power in a very short amount of space, just like the JJPRO P200 that I reviewed on the channel a couple of videos back, only this time this comes as a kit, whereas the P200 is pre-built. Now personally, I prefer that it comes as a kit because yeah, you have to spend the time building it, but you know exactly what has gone into it. So if you have to repair it, then you know how to take it all apart, you know how to unsolder stuff. You know, you built it, so if there's a problem, you can fix it easier. With the JJPRO, I sort of had to reverse engineer it when I crashed it, which wasn't a problem. But I think I do prefer this to the JJPRO P200 for a few reasons. The first one is quite a big one, and that is it carries a camera in the form of a Mobius on the top, whereas the other one didn't. You can see this sits on there, and you have these two lugs at the back there. That is for if you've got a GoPro camera. I have actually attached these so that I can put my antenna onto it. And another reason why I prefer it to the P200 is the camera angle on this little pod here goes all the way down to almost flat. You see, I don't like to have crazy camera angles, which really makes these quads not for me, because you can see there that the camera angle on your action cam is crazy. However, I have found a way around it. You see, these two little stands here, if you take your Legend one, which I have got here, you can actually balance it on the top there, and you can get the same camera angle as you get down here. I'm going to put some foam on there so that in a crash it doesn't completely destroy the camera, but I really like that. So we can stick our action cam on there, not have to have a crazy angle. That's something I didn't like with the P200 because I don't fly at that angle. I basically just fly casual freestyle. And these things are designed to race because, I mean, just look at that. But the camera is adjustable. You have got a screw down here and a screw down here, and you can adjust it to a crazy angle if you like. But the other good thing about this over the P200 is that it is actually smaller. The P200 is called the 200 because it's 200 millimeters. This one is 190 millimeters. It's just absolutely crazy. The propellers are almost touching. You certainly would struggle to get any smaller than this. The standoffs here on the kit are really close into the middle of the frame so that everything clears the props just about, though. You can see at the back here I have got my receiver crammed in. I'll talk about the build in a bit, but everything is just about missing there. Of course, you don't get as much stuff with this as the P200, and it is about the same price. I think it's about £180 or something like that. I'll link it in the description. But you don't get a battery, you don't get a transmitter, you don't get a receiver. So what do you get? Well, you get given the frame in its kit form, and you are given the camera at the front. You are given just one set of propellers. You are given, of course, the most important thing, which is the RS2205 Emax motors, which are just phenomenal. And you are given a SP Racing F3 controller. It's the same one that I used in the Mini Owl build, and I really like it. You are given a power distribution board which fits in really tightly down here. This is the thing with this build, but this is why I also like it, because everything just fits. It just about fits, just enough for you to be able to build it and fly it. Of course, maybe that won't stand so well in a crash, but time will tell. Of course, you are given a XT60 here, which connects to the power distribution board, and just as importantly, you are given 30 amp, yes, 30 amp Opto ESCs, which is just a fantastic combination. So the build, you know, actually was pretty easy. You start off with this bottom plate here, and everything is relying on this aluminium X here. You can see there it's hidden, but this is where your strength is here, and it's an X locking configuration. So let me just take the battery off to show that. Yeah, you're given a battery strap, and better than the P200, in my opinion, you are given this rubber battery mount here, so the battery doesn't slide at all. I really like that. There's no carbon plate like the P200. I prefer this. I don't like the carbon plate on the P200. I need to get rid of that on mine. So yeah, we have got this X configuration here, and to put it together, you've got this plate here, and you have got 3 screws holding the arms in there. So these screws here screw directly into that aluminium X strut there. So this is a short screw going into the X frame, and then this is a longer screw because that also houses your power distribution board and the flight controller there, and you've got various standoffs that you're given as well to put all that in. And then you've got another short screw, so all of these screws locking into that X frame there to make it absolutely rock solid. So then we have got our ESCs going into the power distribution board here. The power distribution board has 12 volts on it here, one for the VTX, so yes, you're given a VTX with it as well, and you're also given this antenna. One thing that I didn't like about the VTX is it's RPSMA. All of my stuff's SMA, so I'm going to have to get a IonWay RPSMA antenna. I've got one on the way already because I don't really like this. I prefer to have one of the IonWay antennas, plus I don't know what polarization this is either. So yes, the 12 volt off the power distribution board there powers the VTX, and then the camera powers off the 5 volt, which is on the other side. Make sure that you don't power this camera off 12 volts. It will blow up. It will only work off 5 volts. So there is no 5 volt out on the VTX. It's a really small VTX, which is nice. And of course I have installed my X4R SB. It just about fits. I've squeezed it in here. You're given some cable ties, and I've tied it in there, so you can add an X4R SB. I see a lot of people using the DSMX satellites, but I prefer to use FreeSky there. So yeah, that's how everything is connected. I've connected the motors straight as well and used BL Heli Suite to reverse the direction, which is quite nice that you can do that through CleanFlight. One thing that was a bit tricky with this is that the motor wires have to be cut so short because this is such a small arm, and these ESCs are quite big. If you turn them around, they're bigger than the arms there. So that was pretty tricky. Apart from that, it wasn't too bad. I have added a 5 volt buzzer. This isn't in the kit, but I have added that to the SP racing board. I'm doing that more often these days to save weight so that we don't have to add an on-screen display. So yeah, no on-screen display with this one. However, I have connected the VBAT. You are given a cable here which plugs into the side of the SP Racing F3 that gets the VBAT information from the power distribution board, which is quite nice. I did have a small problem installing the buzzer. On these FP Racing F3 clone boards, they have wired up this connector wrong here. So this is a little 2-pin 1.25 pitch JST connector, and they give you the wire to connect a beeper into that. However, like I say, one of the pins is wired up wrong, and if you plug a buzzer into this, then it's just going to sound constantly. So what I did was I soldered it to the 2 pins underneath there, and those are connected to the right traces on the board, and now the beeper works. Well, that was just a small thing really, and it's well known that on these clones of the SP racing boards that the beeper is wired wrong, so this is one of those. I was really impressed with how the frame went together. There was no modifying at all of the screws fit the motors no problem, everything just slotted in, nothing had to be amended, I didn't have to file anything down, just had to use Allen keys to get everything in there. 2 different size Allen keys. You're also given these foam landing feet as well, however it doesn't really sit on them. But one thing that I like is because it doesn't have that carbon plate, it does sit on the ground better than the P200. I still wouldn't recommend this for a beginner though. This is for you avid race quad hobbyists that are after a kit and you want to make it the best that you can, really. I mean, you could probably even switch out the VTX for your favorite one, or you could just buy the frame if you like and build the whole thing from scratch. However, I really like the components that you get in this kit. They are really top-notch and the money has been spent in the correct place, just like the P200. So, of course, to fly this, you are going to need other stuff. I've got my Tyrannus transmitter, and as I mentioned, I'm using the X4RSB receiver. And I have got my Fat Sharks here so that I can fly FPV and also record the FPV footage on the DVR as well. I am probably going to attach my Foxeer Legend 1 to the top as well and get some nice HD footage from that. You're going to want to get a load of spare props because you are only given one set of props. And I imagine these are going to break on the Maiden because these don't take off very well with them, you know, falling to one side and that. So one thing that you are getting with this is a very lightweight setup. So it weighs about 500 grams in total, which is 100 grams less than my ZMR build, than the Alien build, but with the same power system, maybe even a better power system. Of course, I'm using my Dynegy 4S 1300 milliamp battery, and because we have less weight, I tend to find that, like with the P200, you get a better flight time. So there is benefits to having this. Of course, I think durability is the main problem with these quadcopters with pods like this, because in a crash they're just going to land upside down, and just like with the P200, all this got broken up. So there is that downside of it. You are definitely suffering with durability with this kind of setup compared to a ZMR or an Alien as well. This is just gonna break when it crashes backwards, you know, so I'm very wary of that as well. But you are going to get increased performance out of this. The camera I didn't mention is a CMOS camera. It's 1000 TV lines apparently, so I'll have to check out how well it is, as well as the reception and things like that. But, you know, these CMOS cameras, they do perform well these days. I don't have problems with CMOS cameras personally. And that is about everything. Let's go and take it for a fly and see if I can tear some holes in the sky. So I'm going to attempt a takeoff, and as you can see, it's very bumpy. It's really difficult to take off these type of aircraft, including the JJPRO P200, because it is sat on its battery and is not very well balanced, and it wobbles about and the flight controller doesn't like it. But as you can see, this thing, just like the JJPRO P200, is absolutely insane. Do you know something funny? Is that you can't fly this quad without a camera, even on idle, and I check this over and over again. On idle throttle, the quadcopter will lift off the ground because it is that light and there's so much power from those props that it will literally not idle. So you have to put the HD camera on there, and then that's just enough weight to sort of weigh it down on idle throttle. Absolutely amazing, but it's something to bear in mind. If you get one of these and you're trying to tune it and you're thinking it keeps taking off on idle throttle, it's literally because it's got so much power. Listen to those red bottoms scream. These motors are insane. I really like them. So, yeah, this is flying great, just as I thought. Just a couple of things to mention, though. I wasn't too impressed with the CMOS camera. Now, CMOS cameras are getting better these days, and it probably didn't help it being a very sunny day. But I was getting a lot of dark patches when I was flying around. The dynamic range was not very good at all. I'll have to try it on sort of an overcast day. Another thing that you might notice is on idle, I'm getting a lot of vibrations, and that is literally because I tried so many times to take this thing off before this video that the thing would just flip over and I bent the props. Now these props are absolutely indestructible. I'm going to have to get some more. I was really impressed with them compared to my HQ5040 props from RotorGeeks. These ones really could take a lot of punishment, but one has gotten really bent. I did try and bend it back, but It's not too bad though. I'm really impressed with how the Foxeer Legend is handling those vibrations, because there's hardly any jello at all. And I did fly this before this flight. I did a maiden to sort of fly around slowly, and I didn't get any vibrations at all. So the vibrations, the small amount of jello that I'm getting on the picture is purely down to that broken prop. I'm gonna have to get some more. Yeah, I do recommend this quadcopter and this kit. It is great. The only thing is though, you know, it is for experienced pilots, and it can be tricky getting everything all in one place. But you know what? I crashed this one a lot, and I crashed it hard, just like I did the P200, and this one stood a lot better. It is much tougher. You do have the problem though of everything being really close together, so if you have a bad crash, then it's gonna mince everything up in the process. But there you go, that is my review of the GB190 from GearBest. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.